So feel free to turn on your camera, even if your hair ain't did and you're drinking a margarita and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, wherever you're at, we're okay with it.
It's a little early for that.
Never too early for a margarita. Just celebrate it with somebody in the right time zone. Amy, no hair and makeup here. Me either. I'm wearing a hat. Like, I need a haircut like a month and a half ago. My permanent haircut. So, should we get going, boys?
Let's do it.
No, let's do it.
So, we are your coaches here that have been chatting away to you here. Kind of get you started. Troy, myself, Ira, and Marcus. There's also Logan, perhaps maybe joining us. But just know, as you're coming on this with a StreetText in mind, you're either looking to do a trial, you started a trial. Sometimes we have people that are members that are coming back to review some of these concepts. But each person has a coach. You will all have somebody that will help you apply what you learned today in this, as well as just give you all the resources and tools on how to test this properly. What we really don't want is for you to go in and try to apply the knowledge that you already have to the tool. We want you to kind of see it from our eyes and see it from our like expertise level of doing this, and this is all we do, so that you can apply it to the tool in the way that we know is going to get you the best results. And then you can decide whether those results are something you want to run with and lock hands over, or whether you are not, it's not the time for you. We're fine with that. So we just want to make sure that you get a good use of it. So we're glad you're here. This is the overview of the whole process. But first thing that we want to talk about is we're living in something called the attention economy. I don't know if you know, but people's attention spans are less than a goldfish. People, like, literally, science has shown that their attention spans are less than a goldfish. So we need to learn how to capture people's attention, create conversations, build relationships. And where can we do that? Well, Facebook. People have their face in that book all day long. They're spending inordinate amounts of time on social media. And we're living in an age right now where some of the methods that we usually rely on to meet people are being more and more not common. There are things that we're not able to do. Get out, like Starbucks doesn't look the same anymore. So sitting around talking to people is hard. So if you want to meet new people, particularly, we're going to talk about a 15-mile radius, because that's what Facebook requires us to work with, is that 15-mile radius. If you want to meet new people in your area, it requires you to use the Facebook Ads Manager. We're not talking about people who are already your friends, already connected with you, but new people. And has anybody used the Facebook Ads Manager before? We like to talk about needing a margarita. We like to call the Facebook Ads Manager the complete labyrinth of frustration and confusion. You can either decide to go into Facebook marketing full-time and make it a full-time career, but nobody's got time for that. You might be able to navigate it enough to get an ad launched, just to have Facebook decide they don't like your ad and you have to rebuild it because of X, Y, and Z. And you might even figure it all out and have it all launched, only to find out like a couple of weeks later they change everything and you don't even know where the button is anymore to launch an ad. So what we have done is we've made launching Facebook ads and having some control over the ability to do that yourself, not having to give it to someone else. We've made it less time consuming, less frustrating, and a lot easier to get good results with. So you don't log into the Facebook Ads Manager. You log into StreetText.com. You launch our already built, proven, we've seen like 16,000 of the ads that you're gonna see this morning that we launched for you work. They've gotten contacts that come in. Anywhere between a 60 to 60% click to contact ratio is what some of our templates are getting, where industry standard is anywhere between 2 and 5%. So launch the ad from our platform, learn how to split test properly, which we're gonna teach you and focus on today, to get the best results, to capitalize on the way Facebook does something. This is what you really need to know. Facebook wants their news feed to be addictive. They're selling you people's attention. That's what they're selling to you. So if they allow people to put flashy ads that look like ads all over their news feed, it's not going to keep people scrolling. They want to keep people scrolling. They want to keep people engaged. So they do that by watching all of the content, and particularly within the first 24 hours. So when you launch an ad, Facebook is making a judgment call based on how that audience reacts to the ad in the first 24 hours. The good news is that means that you can decide whether an ad is working or not working within the first 24 hours. Don't launch an ad and sit for a week and hope that it's going to get better. Facebook already made a judgment call on it in that first 24 hours. So one of the best secrets you're going to learn today is how do you use our template, particularly the seller's template that we're going to use, to land on the audience that's the most interactive with your ad. How do you know? Because you're going to get contacts coming in. You're going to get people submitting you information. And those are the ads we're going to run with. So we're going to talk about how you set up that split test. One, to make sure you're talking to the whole 15-mile radius. But two, we're also going to talk about the audience split test, how you leverage what Facebook is doing to land on an audience that's going to pull good leads for you across time. Once you land on an ad that works, some people have an ad that like they've been running for a year with us and it's still pulling in leads across that time. So we just got to find out how do we land on that ad. And then the other part of it is we love the relationship end of it. With StreetText, we can't really stay away from that. It's kind of what drives us, is how do you build relationships? So once those people click on your ad and they come through as a lead, we don't want to just be a solution to get you good lead flow and good ad spend on Facebook. We want to be a solution on how do you follow up with these people? How can we collaborate as a collective community and share what's working? So we encourage that with our community. We encourage that with all of our classes. So we're going to show you there's emails and text messages attached and already built into these ads, but as well, the people are sharing their scripts. They're sharing what they're doing to generate conversation. How are you following up with these leads? So we want to create the lead first, get tons of good lead flow. And then we want to become good conversationalists because relationship is built on conversation. And that's what's going to grow your business in the rest of 2020. I can't believe we're at the last quarter of 2020. Like, how did that happen? I'm still in shock. But here we are, the last quarter. Let's make it a good one. So what we're going to do is jump into someone's account and we're going to walk you through one, how to set up that ad, and two, like what that ad actually looks like and what's going out on your behalf. So did we find somebody yet? Before I was on here? Good.
We're going to use Bev's account just because she's set it up properly. So it's good to see it first. And so I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go instead of number one, I'm going to go straight to number two. Like you were saying, Ira, I want people to see what an ad feels and experiences like first. So I want you to kind of take note that a typical ad that we run on Facebook looks and feels like this. A lot of people are just like, why the map? The map is so good. It works so well. It's because it's non-invasive. It stops the scroll. It's familiar. We use maps almost every single day, whether we know it or not, while we're, on our apps on our phone to get places. So it identifies to that local audience. They don't feel like you're this typical real estate marketer trying to get their business. And that's what you're looking to do, is you're looking to stop the scroll. It's called interruption-based marketing. There's a science behind this, and the science works, especially when you consider that the image itself and the first landing page they lock into is congruent. So from the ad level to the first landing page, that is an important piece of StreetText. And what Ira was saying, I can hear my 1-year-old outside the door. What Ira was saying is that you have to understand that we're looking for low cost per click model. So if we can get a click to contact ratio of anywhere from 6 to 7 out of every 10 clicks becoming a contact for you, that's unheard of in the industry. And we like to say we found it, and we found it by kind of running a dynamic lead capture funnel rather than all the information up front. Okay. All the information up front that you may have experienced is something called a Facebook lead ad. That's good, and there's a point for it, but not for this type of funnel. So what I want to kind of quickly have you understand is that when you're seeing this ad, you're seeing it in the Facebook newsfeed. So if you were all to go through your Facebook right now, click on your Facebook app and start scrolling down your feed, you wouldn't see any of this information to the right or to the left in terms of this business page of Bev, right? You would just see the feed of all your friends and the updates. So you got to remember that's what they're seeing. They're not seeing the stuff. I'm just showing you this for a demo purpose. But if you're on the mobile phone, you wouldn't see this to the right or the left. You would just see this ad and it would stop the scroll. And then in itself, this is where the first landing page happens. And the call to action is simply, if someone wanted to buy your home, would you sell it? Finding its value in the current market. So one of the pieces of science you got to realize is that if you're in the United States, you have to deal with 15 miles as a minimum radius. So you wouldn't want to say anything like if someone were to buy your Los Gatos home or that specific town you're in, because you're thinking 15 miles, and most of you 15 miles is multiple towns, multiple areas. So instead we've replaced this with 3 home emojis, and it seems to just crush it, okay? Because it draws their eyes up and it drives their you can hear my kid in the background. Okay, and you click through. Hey, Ira, take this over for a second while I deal with that.
Totally understand. His Jackson is just like my Jackson. The door's locked, let me in. So the reason why this really works is because when you click through, or we're talking about the verbiage on top, is those little home emojis is what draws your eye up to the text. So the map catches their eye because it's local, especially right now with COVID. We're all concerned about what's happening locally. So we look at that and we draws up to the text. Now we read, if someone wanted to buy your home, what would be the value of it? And if I'm somebody who's thinking about that, then I click. And that's how we end up with the person clicking through. So a lot of people are so used to these flashy map images. They're so used to, you know, working with ads that look like ads, but we've become really aware of an ad. We're really good at blocking out an ad. So the reason this works is because you're offering them something. You're offering to start a conversation with them with regards to something that matters to them. You're not just putting yourself out there. We can have social media presence, which means that people get to know our brand and us. But business is built on conversation. Relationship is built on conversation. So your ads need to create conversation. And that's why this works.
Okay, I'm back. So click through is what we're looking for. And the first piece of this is obviously the address, because if you're going to ask for what the home is worth or the value of the home, or if someone were to buy your home, would you sell it? The obvious is you need your address analyzed, okay? And we're saying your home, not a renter, not a buyer, although those people will click on it. So from time to time, you do got to verify that information, and we have a script that kind of helps you do that. So address is the first thing you ask for. And so when I throw in my address into this powered by Google type application, it becomes really easy, especially with the thumbs, for that person to put their information in. As soon as I click analyze my property, the submission begins. So what you want to know is that in your dashboard, if you go to the contact section and you go to address only, the address sit in there, okay, if it's an address only. So you're going to have multiple type of submissions. Your next submission that we call a contact, because we call the address only a lead, and you'll see how we break that down into cost per lead, and then we call the actual contacts begin as they submit the email, because that in itself fires off an automated email to your lead. So if I go into the funnel and I give you permission to be contacted, because I will not be able as a homeowner to go and click next unless I give you, the realtor, permission to contact me. And that's an important thing for you. Email permission is provided, click next. That in itself is where it becomes fun, because if I refresh this page now, I've become a lead. I'm in the contact section now. And that in itself is fun, because when that happens, all of a sudden you have a full drip email campaign that's activated, starting with this first one that says after submission, quick question. And we're all about helping you get super high open rates, deliverability, and interaction there. But we need to actually work with you guys, because our main goal is to get you face-to-face with that lead. So the only way to do that is to obviously create this type of scenario, because you're digital door knocking. That's what you're really doing. And the only way to create a relationship opportunity and a discovery moment is to meet each other. And so this puts you front and center, and we'll work with you on how to do that. But just trust me when I say, if you can get yourself embedded with a video introduction inside of the autoresponder, you're going to have a way better chance of creating conversations. And so we want to do that with you, as well as help you update your email signature and so forth. And Troy, Ira, Logan, and I have created a fun course so that when someone does open up an email, that they can meet you just like this.
Hi, I'm Marley with Elevate Real Estate. I got your request for the home price valuation and I am on it. Oh, and by the way, I left a link to my Facebook profile page below. I'll just be sending you a really quick friend request. Want to make sure you get a chance to meet me. We'll talk soon. Bye.
one of many, many different ways to do this. But all you got to know is you're thinking about personalizing this. So we'll teach you a lot more of these type of things. But when someone gets into your email for the first time and they know they just gave it, like I just got that from Bev by putting in my information, this is what they're seeing right now. There's a lot of misinterpretation that could happen on an autoresponder without having yourself in there. They could be like, oh, I was just curious, or never mind, or you know, I thought I was getting an automated CMA, never mind, right? You can think of all the different scenarios that were playing out in that moment they go to their inbox, as opposed to you being face-to-face with there and creating the expectations around how that home value is coming their way and what you would need personally to begin the conversation with them on that. So heading back into the funnel, this is where this is the icing on the cake. You now get to learn more about that home. And so if they provided their email, there's a good chance they're going to be telling you about the condition of their home. Needs a bit of work, needs a lot of work, maybe some age updates like, hey, I have a new kitchen, I updated my blah, 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 right? And then sell date. Immediately 1 to 3 months, within 6 months, 6+ months, just curious. We find you don't place a lot of weight here. The just curious is often a defense mechanism. And the immediately is often, I just want my home value immediately. You don't know until you know, and you don't know until you create a conversation. Just never assume anything. You know, never assume anything until you have the opportunity to connect with that person. And then clicking next. So this is great because what you're seeing with Bev is that she actually has updated her settings in the StreetText account, and she has her slogan in there. It says guiding you home right there in the bottom next to her picture. So great picture, guiding you home. And then she's also pulled in a Facebook review, because if you have a Facebook review, we can help you pull those in. It's just in your settings, you go to Facebook pages, click reviews, and make one of those your favorite. And all of a sudden, as that person is about to put in their phone number, this is as good as you can get in terms of this submission, because this increases your probabilities of getting phone number submissions. And then at the end of the day, if you get that phone number submission, you have an activated SMS component with StreetText in your dashboard. And so this is the conversations tab. And you can see, you know, Doreen responded just, you know, no, right now I'm in self-isolation because I was in Toronto all summer. Thank you. So now where Bev is going to want to go is create a conversation with Doreen, because they actually think they're speaking to an assistant of hers named Julie, and we'll work with you on some role play scripts. But at the end of the day, you're trying to create a conversation from this piece, and your SMS will automatically fire. And we'll work with you on your automations, by the way, because it seems a little crazy or hard to figure out, but actually they're all very customizable, editable. You can turn things on and off. Even the text messages themselves are meant to fire off in a sequence of 5 text messages, starting with the very first one within 3 minutes, and then another one 11 minutes later, and so forth. But it automatically shuts off if the lead responds. So you don't have to worry, like if they respond to any one of these text messages, your text message assistant shuts off, you take over the conversation. But we actually want to work with you on this, because at this moment, it's not you. It's not personified. It's not your personality. It's not like, you don't want to have any interpretation going on in this module. The best thing you could do is go in there and customize it so that it feels very natural. So that would be the key on this. Now, don't worry, like, because there's a lot of pieces moving, and so that's why we've created a free course for you called the StreetText Academy. And we have a very great group that we'd like to get you to be a part of called the StreetText Insider Group. And that is where you kind of really learn about how to make this work for yourself. And, you know, it's free. Everybody gets an opportunity to get it. The best part of this trial is that even if you don't end up moving forward in the trial, you will always have this group. You'll always have the StreetText Insider course. And we do have some phenomenal training that you're always going to have too. Today, you're at the Facebook lead generation, and we're going to show you quickly how to set up those ads to win. But there's a mastermind every Wednesday. There's a lead conversion workshop Tuesdays and Thursdays. There's ad tweaks, custom ads class. It's all available to you free of charge. Whether you're in trial or a full account, we want to give you access to that so you can actually see the value of StreetText, because sometimes it just takes some time and everybody's at different levels of learning. Back into the funnels, this is where you're going to actually split test. And the split test is essentially the fastest way to tap into Facebook's performance and algorithm, because what's happening when you run an ad on Facebook is that Facebook is trying to determine within the first 500 people reached if that ad is relevant to that audience. And what are you looking for? You're obviously looking for clicks. So let me kind of put this in perspective for you. If I go to Bev's split test right now, and we pause it because it became very overwhelming. If leads work, they work well. But here's what you need to know. 37 cents cost per click on this 20-mile radius we drew in her area. And $13 were spent, 18 leads came in, 7 emails. That obviously was a really good ad. It basically broke down into a 75-cent address and a $1.91 email. And then phone numbers, of course, as well, if we break those down. Then, if you look at the same exact ad we ran, nothing changed except for that we ran it into a new audience. $10 spent, all addresses, no emails. Why? We have no idea, because Facebook's running that into an audience, and you can't assume that 15 to 20 miles is just going to magically put you in the perfect homeowner audience. Some people pass by and it's not relevant to them. We're not getting your information. So in that sense, we find this is a split test that we would say, hey, pass, let's turn this off. Let's do it. Let's run it another way. And then lastly, we had this one, again, similar ad spend, some addresses, but less emails. So the winner of all of those would be this one for sure on the top. And what was the split test? It's basically 3 identical ads for 24 hours at $9 to see which ad best locks into the performance measure of Facebook. So this is how you set it up. You essentially go to the seller property valuation conversion template, you click select, and the first thing that every one of you wants to do is go blank on the city and your neighborhood and the search address. Blank, blank, go to map so it lights up that area. And instead of doing anything in step 2, you go straight to step 3. Now, Troy, if you want to actually kind of walk us through this portion of the builder, what would they do in the step 3? What information would they be putting in? And then how would they adjust this to reflect the best practice?
So what you want to do here is you want to consider an address that is central to where you're wanting to target, right? So where you're willing to go 15 miles in any given direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit drop a pin, and we're going to put that address in, right?
And
so
I'll just put in anything right now because Bev's already hit hers up. I'm just doing this for people to see. I'll use my address in California, where I grew up in the Bay Area, just so you can see what that looks like, and I'll open it up. It's in Los Gatos in the South Bay, and it'll really clearly show you that I'm not just targeting Los Gatos. Okay, take a look at that. You start with the pin drop, whether it's a zip code or an address, because it allows you to quickly see what 15 miles looks like. And 15 miles is the minimum in the United States. In Canada, you can go wherever you want. Now, what would you do with this, Troy?
well, I'd first check and make sure that this is where I want to target. And if it's not, you can move that pin. So, you know, being by the ocean here, actually, there's a bit of a hack. You could drag it out. You know, that then helps you get a little bit more targeted if you wanted to. If I wanted to just target Santa Cruz there, I could drag it right down into the water. Because fish don't click. You're making me sick.
Yeah, so if you go down to Santa Cruz, we're off the water, and I just really wanted to capture just part of the coast, because everybody's got to deal with 15 miles. So it's just kind of hacking Facebook's algorithm to figure out how to put this circle wherever you can. So you got to work with the pin drop first and foremost to figure out what 15 miles is optimal. Like if I clicked it and moved it here into San Jose, then I would be working in Los Altos, Mountain View, Milpitas, Los Gatos, and so forth. So you got to look at the 15 miles first and foremost with the pin drop. And once you figured out that perfect one, nothing's perfect, obviously. Everybody's got to deal with the 15. But once you figure it out, you click escape, click done, and then you have a longitude, latitude. So what would you do at this moment, Troy?
I'd head on back to the first step there. And I put that same address in there once I found it. And now you want to align this map to be representative of that area that you're targeting, right? So you want to include all of those areas that you're targeting in there. So Milpitas, San Jose, Los Gatos, right? Because what you want to do is anytime somebody is in that targeted area and they see this image, you want to make sure that they recognize where they live, right? It's just like if we look at a group photo, who's the first person you look for? It's the same with an image, with a map image. If you see a map image of the area that you live in, the first place you're going to look for is, where do I live? So we want to stop that scroll with that. Next up, what we want to do is in the city and neighborhood, we left it blank for a reason because we're covering all those different areas. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a home emoji, paste that in there, even 3. And what this is going to do is we stop the scroll and now we want to draw the eyes up into the copy. All right, we're going to see those emojis in our peripheral vision. We're going to draw it up into there and then we're going to read that. And then if you want, you can do a satellite version, map version. You can add some terrain if you live in an area where there's terrain. Map version usually is just a little bit more clear. It's easier to read. So once you have all that all lined up, you just hit next. Go past this step because we've already dropped our pin. And set your daily budget. We default to $9 a day simply because we found that that has the best reach per day to first initially just get you started, right? This first little bit when you're running an ad and then you run your split test is really to determine your lead flow in your market. Once you've determined that, then you can adjust your budget accordingly. You know, is that enough leads or if it's not enough leads? And then deploy. And it'll build out the funnels, it'll build out the landing pages and all the automations for you. And there we go.
And then you go back and do it 2 more times. 2 more times. Oh, Logan, you're here. Why don't you tell us about why we do that 2 more times?
Yeah, I was trying to just hide in the background here a little bit, not have to, do my job. But so I'll explain really quickly how the Facebook algorithm works, because this part's I think really important. And it doesn't matter whether or not you continue with StreetText or not. This general practice will help you regardless. Anytime you build ads on Facebook, understanding how Facebook's operating will do nothing but serve you well. So an understanding of the first 500 people that view your ad. That's the most important thing. You never need to run an ad for a week to decide what it's doing. Facebook has made up their mind as to how good your ad is after 24 hours. You run an ad, Facebook will start to show people within your area. Now we looked at that 15-mile radius, right? So you'd assume that that's your target, that's your audience. Well, there's potentially 1 million people in there. Maybe let's just say there's 500,000 people within your 15-mile target radius. Facebook will start to ping all over that little circle and find random people. And then as people from that 500 begin to click, Facebook then tags and looks for a lookalike audience, the people taking positive action from that first 500. Now, there's 5 variables on any Facebook ad. You can control 4 of 5. So if you want to use the scientific method like we teach, what you're going to want to do is control 4 of the 5 variables. Now, what those variables are, of course, is the ad image, the ad copy, the ad spend, and where you've chosen to target. You can control those 4. Now, your test audience, the first 500 people Facebook randomly shows your ad to, that is basically, in my opinion, one of the most important things, and we have no control over it. So to manipulate this a little bit and give you more of a shot at hitting an ad that works, what we like to do is build 3 ads. 3 ads that are perfectly identical in those first 4 variables. That gives you the opportunity to test what Facebook's doing, right? So even though the ad is identical, you're in the same area, you're spending the same amount of money, the ad looks the same, sounds the same, it's finding 500 different people on each ad, and how that test audience reacts to your ad tells Facebook how good the ad is, sets your relevancy, thus they're able to set your cost per click. Also, again, the people who are clicking within that first 500 sets who's going to keep going. So if you have an ad that has maybe good metrics, but the leads that are coming from are outside your preferred area, address only leads, not the kind of leads we're looking for, it doesn't matter how inexpensive they are, they're not good leads. It's not what we want, right? If you're on the other side of the equation, you're getting, leads that are including more information, but you're getting a $6 cost per click or a, $12 per email, whatever it might be, the likelihood of hitting the ROI that we would expect is also not there. So you need to have a good mix of both, and you only know that by running multiple ads. And I'm not saying run multiple ads for any length of time, because if you do 3 ads at $9 a day, that's potentially $27 a day. So 1 day at that is more than enough. After 24 hours, you look in your ad section, you see which ad has taken off the best, you pause the other 2, and then you have an ad that should last you weeks and months as opposed to, days, really. And that leads to the other side of the equation of the 15-mile radius. That has been a blessing in disguise for most agents. Most agents before August of 2019 were doing as small of a radius as they could, one particular postal code or zip code in the States, right? Doing very, very small targeted areas. Now, the problem with that is longevity. You have an ad that takes off and blows up right away, but you're targeting a very small area. How many people live in that area? How many people are recycling in and out of that area all the time? Very few. So you're going to hit an ad that lasts weeks, as opposed to when you do expand it a little bit, you find that one that works within the first 24 hours, you lock it in, you have an ad that should be delivering good leads for quite some time, and it's easier to monitor it because, again, if it's a good ad that's working the right way, Facebook knows the right people to continue delivering that ad to, and also who to avoid. So general principle, I know this part makes it's a little weird, but 3 ads, perfectly identical, 24 hours, pick your winner. If none of them line up in terms of the metrics we would expect, turn them all off and start again. It's very rare that you have to replicate that process more than once, especially during trial. It happens. But realistically, I would say for most of you, 3 ads, 1 day, you'll see one that wins. So at this point, usually we get a lot of questions. So anybody has any questions on the algorithm or anything like that, or anything we've covered so far, unmute yourself and let us know, and we'll do our best to address. Monica, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, hi, I just have a question. So I'm in the trial period, and I think 1 ad started to run, or did you guys do the 3 to start off?
So when you first set up your trial, you would have went through our other builder that basically says, tell us where you want more leads, and you would have typed that in. It would have built your ad for you based on that location. Now, that's the reason we try to get everybody to this meeting as soon as we can, so we can explain, hey, that might work. That first ad that created that does specify your area in the copy, it could work. But it's much more likely to work if you were to follow more what Troy, Ira, and Marcus have been showing earlier in this webinar, where you remove that verbiage, put in the emojis, expand your radius, kind of do it that way, and then build those 3 times, but you have to do those ones manually. If you reach out to your coach and just give us your preferred targeted area, most of us, myself included, I'll speak for myself only here, but I would assume we're all willing to build your first set of ads for you and make sure that they're set up properly. And then for me personally, what I do is I just like to communicate back and forth through text over the next couple of days and just let you guys know what I'm feeling about your ads, how things are going, whether or not they can be improved. And more importantly, booking with your coach one-on-one after these calls gives you the opportunity to pick our brains as to what metrics should be based on median price points in your area, right? So for instance, if you're in an area where median price point's $250,000, your potential commissions, $500 to $6,500, well, you better be under a certain set of metrics in order to hit the kind of ROI. Whereas you're in an area like we are, where median price point's closer to 900,000, you can get away with spending a little bit more money on leads and still be appropriate and affordable, right? But it's very determined by your median price point and what's happening in your local market. So again, book with your coach and we'll be able to go through all of our parameters that we would expect.
Okay, thank you. Sounds good.
So there are some questions coming in. Let me break this down with the ad analytics here. So when you're in your ad section and you're looking at the split test for the first 24 hours, you clearly want to look at a few things. This is going to be the most important, your spend and how that breaks down into a cost per lead. And our lead we're talking about is at least the submission of an address and then the cost per email. So if you look at the example of Bev's split test here, she has $13.38 spent here, 36 clicks. Half of them submitted at least an address, which gave her a 74-cent address. And about half of those gave her an email, which gave her about a $1.91 email, plus all the phone numbers she got submitted. And so when you compare that to this one, which spent about $10 and broke that down into just addresses, of course you would pause that ad and you keep this one going. It makes complete sense. And then on this one, she had 9 addresses, 2 emails. So, you know, pretty good ad, still really good cost per click. At the end of the day, when you're looking at your contacts, they all have an ad ID. So when you're looking at like 535383 53535383, you're kind of looking at, or 53 is the obvious here with the most submissions in the contact. So that one, then my eyes would be starting to draw into more of, well, which of these are giving me more contacts in my preferred area? So quality of information, both with phone numbers, but also in the areas and neighborhoods I desire, higher price points, I'm sure. So that's how you break down which ad performance kind of wins in this model. And then it becomes fun, because if you're getting things, you know, I just for fun said, come list my home, because if they say whatever they say, it's just a matter of you coming in here and role playing, right? And so whatever the scenario is, you want to go in there and role play, because as soon as the yellow lights up in the conversation tab, that means they've responded to you, and they're not responding to your personal cell phone. They're responding to your AI that you activated when you activated this. You'd have to activate a local number that was assigned to your area. So really what you're looking at for is not your own cell phone, but something that that audience in that 15-mile radius would resonate with the first 3 digits of that area code, because that's going to be your assistant, and we can work with you on that role play. Now, as far as different ads, someone asked about different ads. Absolutely. We're going to start with this on the seller side, because like we said, it's been tested over 18,400 times this past month alone, breaking down into 60+% click to contact ratios, about a $2 average address, about a $5.96 average email, $18 average phone number. And that's even doing things wrong, which a lot of people do because they don't get the split test set up properly. So it works. 100% works. You just got to test it properly and realize you can go from 1 emoji to 3 emojis. You can go from a satellite to a map or a terrain. They all can work. It just needs to be split test properly, because that's, again, the one variable here is the audience it's getting in front of. That's going to apply to every ad template that we have. And we could work with you even in this trial on some buyer to seller ads, because they do pick up both buyer and seller information. So, you know, be the first to receive a list of homes in Dallas with a pool under $299, and we can set up some really cool imagery for you with that. We have a listing template that you're welcome to run. It works really well. Again, we would probably hold off to do these things with your coach, because you're assigned a complimentary coach, and we're just going to send you our Calendly. We have a Calendly similar to one like the StreetText, and you can just book into our a time slot, and we can do a one-on-one. And that would probably be the best way to start here. Any questions? Any other questions? Just feel free to unmute yourself.
You said we could unmute, right?
Yes.
Okay. So little disclaimer. I am a real estate agent, and I'm with EXP, but I also work for another leads company. I've spoken to thousands of agents. I've heard good things about your company, so I decided to join on, just see what you're about. Everything you're saying, if there's any other agents in here, they are a great company based off of my own experiences of lead generation. And what I want to know is, because I am obviously using my other company for leads, can I integrate with API into my other CRMs that I'm using to bring those leads in that I'm bringing here into my CRM?
I'll go ahead and answer that. Yeah, Mike, not a problem at all. I mean, realistically, in real estate, my thought is very rarely is it wise to leave all of your lead generation in one place. You know, it's kind of the all your eggs in one basket. So multiple avenues. And especially when it comes to other CRMs, the way I like to look at that is if you have a successful drip campaign, emails, text messages, and everything already built in one system, we don't want you to have to take that and migrate it into ours. There's a lot of time and energy and work that goes into that. And Our system is great for people who don't have that all set up and ready to go, but for somebody maybe like yourself who has a successful campaign and everything ready to go, absolutely, it's very easy to integrate StreetText with almost any other system out there. For everybody on here as well, there's 2 ways of doing that. You can use Zapier. So if the company that you're using also has a Zapier API, which you can find very easily by going to zapier.com, and then just hit the little plus arrow and search apps and find your EXP, KV Core, Follow Up Boss, whatever it could possibly be. Right, exactly what we're showing here. You hit that little plus symbol. You'll be able to search apps, find any other CRM that's out there. We've already then built our side of the Zap, meaning that all you have to do is connect your CRM. Leads will automatically flow from us into your other system, where you can then set up your follow-up structure from there. If your system is more of a proprietary system and doesn't play nice with others, then you can do what's called simple email parsing. You click down there where it says sync contacts by email. Your email address will be something like mike.leads@whatever.com, right? And then simply put that in there, and then we will email your leads to your other CRM. Both work. I've seen success with both, of course. Zapier sometimes, depending on the connection on the other company's end, can have a few little minor hiccups and issues, at which time we would then recommend email parsing. But one way or the other, it's very, very easy to be able to do that.
Thank you.
It's so easy. I mean, let me show you one fun thing. Like if you're going to go change the automatic email, because it's, you don't want to leave it generic. You would go to something like BombBomb. We recommend Google Chrome as your browser, and then their Chrome extensions are amazing. And if you go into this mode of just simply putting a video introduction in there, and I can just simply click copy email for email. So if you go again to Chrome extension and you have something like BombBomb or Dub, you just go into this autoresponder and update it with a copy paste. And all of a sudden it's a game changer in the way you're introduced. So just something to think about. I mean, between these text messages and emails going out, it's all about personification, right? It's all about face-to-face. It's all about understanding we're in this world where everything is moving digitally. Everything is moving visually. People are more likely to click on a video now than read anything. And you have seconds to gather their attention. The economy we're in, what did you say, Ira? It's like we have the attention of a goldfish right now. So it's so true though. Like you got to realize they're making this judgment decision on whether or not they're going to respond to you, let alone give you the time of day, the moment they get into their inbox, the moment they get a text message. And so you better have a great first impression.
Yeah, one thing I just want to quickly add on that is when we talk about the importance of video, it's understanding what you're trying to accomplish here. And we're in a relationship building business, right? Where our business isn't selling homes, it's building relationships. And what happens when you build a relationship is you get to sell their home. It's kind of how it works, though. It doesn't start with, hey, I'm going to sell your home and now we build a relationship. It's not how this works. So with StreetText, the way that this works is when a lead comes through, there's no lead sharing. It doesn't split among, lead pooling, nothing like that. You get the lead and you're the only one who gets that lead, unless that individual happens to click on somebody else's ad and leave the same information, which is unlikely. But I still have always operated under an assumption. I impose upon myself an assumption that 5 to 10 other agents get every lead I do at the same second I get it. Right? It just makes you operate a little bit differently. And every broker worth their salt will have told you speed lead, speed lead, speed lead, speed lead. That's been hammered in us since the day you get licensed, right? And it's incredibly important. You do need to get something to these individuals right away. That's the purpose of the drip campaign. That's the purpose of everything that we're doing here with that. But what's often overlooked is the quality of content. Just because you get something to them right away doesn't mean they're going to respond to you, doesn't mean that you are sending something better than another agent might have sent, right? So really consider, how am I going to introduce myself personally? If you just send a well-worded email, how does that differentiate you from anybody else? Maybe I'm incredibly eloquent and I can write a phenomenal email. Maybe I can't and I simply Google and steal somebody else's content. It's not a true reflection of me. Whereas when I have a video of myself introducing myself, the words coming out of my mouth are less important. And it's more important that I'm a real person, right? And some people are going to see your videos and say, I don't choose to work with that person. That's fine. I'm going to be the same individual showing up to list their home whenever I show up there. If they're not going to like me in my video, they're not going to like me at the door. I would rather that early on, whereas most people simply see that and go, oh, this is a real person. This isn't just another bot or automation or computer system, even though the video is automated, right? It's a significantly more personable approach, and you've set yourself ahead of all the other agents who just sent standard emails. So really consider adding video to your follow-up if you don't have it already. I think it's something that will help everybody. And even if you're a little nervous to get on camera, where most people are, I find, recording videos can be a little bit difficult for some people. Just understand, again, the only thing you're trying to convey is that you're a real person. So if you're a little nervous on camera, if you're a little whatever, it's perfectly fine. It actually plays out in your favor. So kind of get over that whole thing and get ready to do some video.
Yeah, here's a fun example of a virtual CMA. So people are asking, well, what would you send them? What type of CMA? Here's a really solid example that's just less than a minute that addresses their home value in a really strong way. This is Wendy. She's created a template out of BombBomb. It's really consistent with her branding, but I really love what she's done on here to address the home value.
Hi, Jolie. I'm Wendy with LV Sweet Homes Realty, and I received your request online through my Facebook link to find the value of your beautiful home at 316 King Street in Henderson. I pulled it up on Redfin, and oh my gosh, I love that pool. And they are saying it's worth about $682, $796. Zillow is saying it's worth $706, $747. And Realtor.com thinks it's worth $722, $200. So as you can tell, online values are kind of all over the place. So I like to dive right into the MLS and look at similar square footage, also with a pool, 1-story, 4-car garage in your area, and they're ranging between $500 and $722. So in order to get a true value of your home, I would actually need to see your home, see what kind of updates you did to it or what you haven't did to it, and then go from there. So below this video is a link to my calendar. You can click on it, pick the best day and time for me to come by, check out your place, and then answer any questions you have. So thanks so much again for reaching out, and we'll talk soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Now, the cool thing on that too is that she has a call to action on that video that would connect with them to her Facebook Messenger. So there is a call to action within that email video. So it just goes to show you there is 1,000 ways to skin the cat. You know what I mean? You got to find you to deliver that value, and how you do things is entirely up to you. But we're going to show you our favorite examples, and you just kind of make it your own. At the end of the day, you can present value any way you want, or withhold value any way you want if you're telling them why you're withholding that value to connect with them. That's the truth on that. Any questions? Cool. All right, Ira, next steps. Next step is to meet with your coach, Carol. So everybody here has a coach. You are assigned one when you activate a trial. So I would say step one is to think about that pin drop that comes to mind, the zip code and or address, and tell us what that is. Go look at it in that funnels template of your dashboard. Go to the seller property valuation conversion template, click select, go to step 3, mess around with the drop the pin feature so you can kind of figure out what that perfect 15 miles looks and feels like. And then send that to your coach, and we'll help you get that split test set up. And then we'll also send you a link to our calendar. We'll connect with you on Facebook. We'll get you into our StreetText Insider group and give you access to that StreetText Academy. That would be your next steps for the trial portion of this. And what I'll have Ira do real quickly is just kind of acknowledge if you love what you're seeing and you're getting some great results and you kind of want to learn more and become an active member with StreetText, he'll go over the long-term solution for you right now.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that Wendy, that little template that she built, it might seem overwhelming to you right now, but she's taken everything and layered it over time, and she's developed an amazing process. I love how she said in our group, do you think I'm tired of doing those CMAs in the morning? Because it's resulting in amazing listings and her business growing like crazy over time. She started where you started. So sometimes it's like, this is all overwhelming. There's so many different options. It's all about layering your learnings across time. So if you come in this with a short-term mindset and you're just gonna like see what happens in 3 months, oftentimes you're not gonna have the same results. So we really advocate for a long-term mindset to have the greatest success and outcome on the other end of it. So our pricing is based on that. So when you look at our pricing and you scroll down, and you'll be able to access this on your account when it says welcome, you just scroll to the bottom and you click the ready to sign up button, and our 3 different payment options are there. So we have a 1-year membership. It's $19.20 for the entire year, and then it renews month to month at $160 a month. We have a 6-month membership. It's $1,020, renews month to month at $170 a month. And you have a 3-month membership. It's $600 and renews month to month at $200 a month. People like Donna Swansea, who loves her address onlys and was a school teacher and became a realtor, and she's done 200 plus deals with StreetText. She built an entire course around how she did that. And we give that course to you for free if you commit to that 1-year membership. But it's really about, we want to make sure in trial you get a good performing ad, and we know all the different markets, what looks like good performance in each of those markets. So connecting with your coach, that he'll be able to tell you, okay, this is a good ad and this is what you can expect, because you got to add your ad budget on top of what it costs to use our platform when you're budgeting across the year. So we want to see, what does $9 a day get for you? And if $9 a day, I'm just looking at somebody's account who's in Alabama, and I'm like, $9 a day is going to get you way too many leads to follow up with right now. We need to turn that down, because follow-up is more important than a lead coming in if you don't have a follow-up process dialed in. But you might be in New York, you might be in like California, and the areas where there's a higher end market, also a lot of people competing for that Facebook market space. So you're gonna have to split test a little bit more, and you're gonna land on something you might pay a little bit more, but the commission on the other end of it justifies the cost of that lead. So let's establish that for you. Let's get your split test set up. Let's teach you how to learn that, how to use the templates. If you want to do buyer ads, or if you want to do listing lead ads, we have those available too during trial that do phenomenally well. And let's get you connected to the people who are already doing well. If you want to do this well, just follow in the footsteps. Don't reinvent the wheel. We have so many people that have a generous mindset that are sharing their process, because they aren't scared, because they're doing well. Their businesses are growing. They're not worried about you copying what they're doing, because they're already in a good position. And frankly, one of the hardest things to do is to follow through. You can do this if you follow through on it. So that's what we kind of advocate for on our end. So next step, if you don't know who your coach is, you've received any number of messages from us as StreetText, just message any of them back, email, messenger, text message, and say, are you my coach? And if they're not your coach, they'll get you your coach's calendar link. Like Marcus said, though, I've been setting up split tests like crazy yesterday for people. If you want us to set up that split test and then meet with us over the results, that's another way of doing it. Just get us that address and we'll set that split test up for you. That way we can convene around the results and then move more into, okay, how do I now convert these leads? What are the best resources to do that? And we're excited to help.
That's the best way. I would say start with the address and or zip that comes to mind. Let us set up the split test properly for you. It's a lot more exciting to have a conversation around lead than it is to set up. So the fun part is when the leads start coming in, you get motivated, because you want to have conversations with these leads. And then you start thinking about, well, how do I get them to have a conversation with me? And it becomes obvious. It's straight out of Winning Friends and Influencing People 101. It's about connection. How do you leverage connection? Do you know that you can find a lot of these guys on Facebook? Do you know you can find them and create a message on Messenger? That's free. Video is going to be helpful to do that. Screen recording is going to be helpful for you. There are also great integrations that a lot of our users are looking into as well to make the process smarter for them, not harder to make. So just think about it. You know, there's no pressure here other than have fun. And if it becomes overwhelming, just like Bev, we just pause the ads. Like, that's it. You just pause it. You pause it because you're like, I can't do this right now. This is way too much. Let me learn a little bit more. And that's something a lot of people will do too if they feel overwhelmed by the lead flow. But meet with your coach and we'll go from there. Sound good, guys? Perfect. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.